So two kings. Now you've met 'em both, you've heard 'em both. Which one's your favorite? Well, maybe you like the humble hero who makes the world right. Maybe you prefer the kindly king whose belly laughs shake the ground. Let's put it this way. If your mother asked you to describe your hero, you might say something like selfless, clever, and creative. But if your father asked you the same thing, you might say powerful, just, and decisive. In other words, the hero who suits you depends on whether you want to save the world or save yourself. That's why the hero with 1,000 faces is called that. He saves himself first. Hello, friends. Today you'll meet two kings, but only one name. Once upon a time, there was a king. People knew him as King Shon. Shon means son. It sounds like fun, and that's how he was, loving to laugh. His laughter boomed like thunder. Even his enemies couldn't stay mad at him for long. In fact, he was the only king anyone ever heard of with a jailbreak rate of 100%. As soon as he saw a prisoner, he'd break out laughing and set them free. One day, a poor man entered the king's court. The man had just lost his cow. He told the king, "Oh, my only cow has gone missing. Without her milk, my children will starve." King Shon laughed. "A cow, you say? I'll get you a whole herd." Soon enough, the king brought the man 12 fat cows. "Here," said the king, "raise them. In a year, return one calf from each cow, and you'll have a fine little herd to start with." The man prostrated himself before the king. "My king," he said, "with your help, I will live like a king." Every day the man visited the cows. He fed them. He played with them. He dreamed of their calves. But after 3 months, one by one, the cows died. The man rushed to the king. "Oh, mighty monarch, all your cows have died." King Shon burst out laughing. "What's to laugh?" asked the man, bewildered. "Didn't you bring me 12 calves by now?" "No, your majesty," said the man. "Well then," said the king, "I suppose I owe you some new cows." And once again, King Shon led the man out to the pasture and presented him with 12 fine cows. The man was overjoyed. He thanked the king and returned home. For the next 3 months, he visited the cows every day, but no calves were born. He worried. He prayed. He even sacrificed his jewelry to propitiate the gods. But when he approached the king for the 3rd time, guess what he heard? The same booming laughter and the same phrase. "Didn't you bring me 12 calves by now?" The man fell to his knees. "O king, you have condemned me and my family to starvation." "So you don't trust me with your problem anymore," said the king. "Bring me a drink of water from the river. I swear I will solve your trouble." The man dashed off to the river and returned with a pot of water. "Drink this," said the king. To his surprise, it tasted sweet like sugarcane juice. But the man had no idea what it meant. "I have a riddle for you," said the king. "Tell me what this water is, and I'll double whatever gift you've asked of me." "Well, your majesty," the man said, "this tastes like sugarcane juice, but I know it isn't that. It tastes like dates, but I know it isn't that. What can it be? Am I supposed to know everything?" "Good answer. You win your prize." And the king kept his word. He doubled the man's original herd to 24 cows and presented it to him. The man bowed low and left. This time, he managed to raise a whole herd. When he returned the calves to the king, he realized that the king's real pleasure lay in his own magnanimity. And he respected that. They remained friends till the end of the king's life. About the story. The main character in this story is King Shon, whose name, Shon, means laughter. Some versions of this story call him King Vikramjit, but in Hindi, Vikram means heroic valor, and that doesn't fit this character. Shon, on the other hand, is the perfect name. Think of him as Lord Krishna, another of India's greatest heroes. He, too, loved nothing more than to laugh. That's why in art he is always shown with a flute and a big smile. My telling of this tale is based on Vikram and the Vicious Demon, Chapter 36 of the Vikram and Vetal, a medieval collection of tales from ancient India. In that version, Vikram is the hero, and Shon is one of his many disguises. The story also preserves parts of a much older oral tradition, including the tale of Shunashiha, the man who kept losing his cows, as found in the Satapatha Brahmana, a sacred text of Hinduism. In the original, Shunashiha lives in a village and rents his cows from a local landlord. Those versions remind us that laughter is the best medicine. But sometimes it's good to have a king who can change his tune. In a certain kingdom, there was a king whose wife was childless. "If only I had a son," he'd sigh. "I'd make him the heir to the throne." One day, a sage visited the king. "Your Majesty," he said, "I can give you a son, but in return, I ask for only one promise from you." "Name your price, wise man. I shall grant it." The sage continued, "When my son is grown, I shall ask for his hand for my daughter. Promise to give him the half of your kingdom." "Agreed." The king was overcome with joy when he heard the sage's good news. Every day he visited the infant prince, amused by his tiny fingers and toes. But as the boy grew, the king remembered his promise. The day the prince turned 16, the sage returned to ask for his daughter's hand. "Wait a minute," said the king. "I promised you half of my kingdom, but I never promised my son's hand." The sage looked deeply disappointed. "You are right, Your Majesty, but I hoped you would keep your word." "Don't worry, sage," said the king. "I won't go back on my word." And he called for his royal scribe. "Write it down," he said, "that my son will marry the sage's daughter." "Your Majesty," said the queen, "why don't we write it down that our son will give the sage half of his kingdom?" The king stared at his wife in astonishment. "That's the same thing," she whispered, and the king laughed. "Ah, yes, it is the same thing." And he signed the document appointing his son as the sage's son-in-law. When the wedding was ready to take place, the princess was adorned in fine garments and ornaments and sat on a golden throne. Her groom-to-be, the young prince, sat facing her. After the ceremony, he would receive half the kingdom. The groom-to-be stared at the princess. "Are you sure you're 16? "Yes," said the princess. Yes, I'm 16. The king raised an eyebrow. "It seems you're both silent." He beckoned to his court poet. "Sing a love song." The poet sang a rousing ballad of love and romance. But the groom-to-be said, "She's too young. She doesn't know what romance is." The king scratched his beard. "All right, then sing a song of adventure and valor." The poet sang of daring exploits of legendary heroes. But the groom-to-be said, "He's too young. He doesn't know anything about valor." The king sighed. "Then sing of the joys of being married." The poet broke into a merry tune. But the groom-to-be said, "He's not even a bachelor yet. How should he know about marriage?" The king threw up his hands. "Enough of this nonsense. We shall settle the matter fairly." He addressed the young couple. "Do you love each other?" "Yes, I do," said the girl. "Do you love